I come from the southern state of Tamil Nadu. There are so many dialects even within Tamil Nadu, and a person in the southernmost part of Tamil Nadu will not speak something which is super sensible for somebody in the northern part of Tamil Nadu. Of course, you can make out 80% of what is being said, but never 100%. Therefore, the question is, if we are going to build something which is a model, which is the westernized version of what India needs versus the Indianized version of what India needs, you need to understand then who will be able to understand our own pain points better. Will the local person sitting in, let's say, Tirunelveli district in Tamil Nadu be able to understand that better? Or somebody sitting in a research lab in the US be able to understand it better? So that I think is really the core focus. You need local models handled by local people in order to be truly relevant for the full population. You can of course get to, let's say, 60-70% relevance with with the base languages, but once you are talking about transforming the remaining 30%, and in this case remember that this 30% of India is more than the entire population of the US. So when you talk about that number of people being impacted, then you need that local capability.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So I think the message is very clear, right? So it's not just about dialects within the boundary, but it is also about cross-boundary or cross-border dialects and language and diversity that we're talking about here. Okay, so this brings us to another. So at least this clears this thing that we need sovereign models. We need models that are built within India. Okay, now model building requires two major investments. So one is called oil and the other one is called refinery. So when I say oil is the data. And when I say refinery, it is the data centers. Right? So my next question is for Mr. Sunil. So what do you think? Do we have enough capacity in the refinery, or we need to build it? And if that is the case, then how early we can catch up with our Western competitors?
Professor, as I said that just 8 years back, India used to be all of 200 megawatt of data center capacity, right? Which was more built for hosting enterprise applications, e-commerce applications, and the usual stuff. Gradually, people shifting from captive data centers to centralized, third-party data centers. Thanks to the, I would say, a massive movement towards cloud, right? Hyperscalers coming in India, the local players growing. We have seen data center capacity going to around 1.4 gigawatts, like 7 times in the last 7 years. And based on the planned capacity announcements and what is getting on ground, we all were very sure that India will become a 3 gigawatt data center capacity, which will still be like second or third largest in the APAC and maybe fourth or fifth largest in the world by 2030. AI has just changed the equation completely, right? And as I said that while India is always late to start, late to adopt any technology, but once a tipping point comes when you have got the best of the output to the user at the lowest of the price, that is what India is. The scale at which India adopted technology, we have seen it in so many things, whether it's desktop, laptop, mobile, 5G, everything we have seen. Same thing is supposed to happen in AI, right? And we just saw one UPI, which was enabling digital payments, and we know what it has impacted our life. Just imagine if you got 1,500 UPI moments coming because of AI, because AI will impact every walk of life. When that moment comes and billions of people do that, the data center capacity, which as of now is 3 gigawatt projected, whether it go to 6 gigawatt, 9 gigawatt, 10 gigawatt, all of us are scared to even imagine that. And again, I'm saying that is the opportunity which India need to build up for itself. Great part is government is recognizing it. You must have realized, you must have seen the tax holiday which government has given in the tax, in the budget this year for 20 years. And what India is aspiring now, that not only India serves its AI to its own for its own use case to its own citizens, but can we also start bringing the global demand right into India itself from India? So I would say the industry is gearing up for this. We as an industry are building data center capacity. You must have seen many announcements, even by Yota itself, by Jio, by Tata, by global majors who are putting in data center capacities. We ourselves, the last 2 years, we have built almost 10,000 NVIDIA, GPUs. In fact, so happy that Abhishek Socket's model is getting trained. Euroca's GPU clusters. In the next 2 days, you'll hear a big announcement from us, and you will hear that announcement from NVIDIA as well, how we're scaling our GPU capacity multifold, to make sure that when India's use cases start getting to production, right, India is never short of the GPU supply. The compute layer and the hidden layer is always available. And I'm sure we will hear similar announcement from multiple players, because everybody has seen, I would say, tasted blood now, right? What we were visualizing 2 years back, that India will scale to that, thanks to India Vision, thanks to government initiatives, thanks to government funding these GPUs and giving to startups, brilliant startups like Socket. We will see lots of more announcements in this event. So I think we and India are gearing up, building data center layer and building GPU layer. 2 years down the line, we will not be even talking about that compute is a problem in India.
Then let me just talk about the second the voice and the data. So when this AI, this race started, right? At the time, there was very less licensing, privacy concerns were lesser, right? A lot of data was available, which is on in public domain. Now, if you see, people are trying to kind of putting these like doors behind, and then you need to have a very restricted access to the data. And when I'm talking about this data which was available maybe 3 years back, but now it is not available. Like, so this question goes to you, Joseph. Like again, if you talk about, like, if you really want to build this AI big AI ecosystem within Indian boundaries, but the data scarcity is again becoming a major bottleneck, right? So do you think the kind of regulations which are coming up, so there should be a kind of a distinctive or a difference between the entities which are coming up from India, or the entities and the entities which are coming outside from India, and maybe serving the same people, Indians, right? So what is your view on that?
So, as a regulator,
we do a lot of analysis. We also know how these
models need so much of data, and I'm told that all the standard models have kind of taken all possible data available there on internet to train their models, billions, trillions, I don't know what all the tokens are. But then, whenever we go to a discussion at a global level, we have always seen that the question was, how strong is your data protection? Right? So there was a GDPR on one side, there was cross-border privacy rules on the other side. A lot of countries part of it. Until we had our own DPDP Act and the rules, DPDP rules which got modified, we were at a disadvantage. Countries or jurisdictions were a bit skeptical as to how will this jurisdiction or our country handle the data. Now with this out of our way,
probably we see a good
seat at the table. And this can open up things like what we are discussing today, called data corridors between different countries, right? So I'm not talking about the data required to train the model, that all of you know it, and the kind of challenges, the multi-model nature of it, how we need to get the bias and model poisoning out, all those things are known. But I'm talking about something more strategic. When you have a bridge between two countries, multiple jurisdictions, cross-border data, how does it go? That's a very different perspective and a ballgame than just for our own country. So when you're saying global south, I want to be leading the global south, we need to re-engineer some of these corridors, or the pathways which we're thinking. And just think about the possibilities,
right? For example, to give an example from the financial sector I represent, if your KYC is portable
across countries, what happens? So business here, an MSME here, right, or an individual here, you have this passporting mechanism because of this data corridor to take your business, your identity, your entity to a different country. Likewise, the other way around. Now, this is going to kind of create this leadership space which we need to be in. And that in turn is going to feed into all of your AI models here, because now your AI is not restricted to a narrow jurisdiction because of the data restriction. Now you're just talking about
really being the leader in that space. And that is exactly what we need to aspire to. Because now that with the implementation timeline kind of put in for EPTP, I expect that to kind of be a good handshake with the kind of development which is happening in the AI space together, so that we kind of create that perfect environment, or the perfect storm as they would call it, so that we can just cross over to the Rubicon. Because as they say, data is oil, very cliche, but inherently that data is what needs to bring in a trusted ecosystem. Because in financial world for us, everything is in trust. So if that data cannot be trusted, let's say there is a lot of hallucination, as we call it in the AI space, then how do we take decisions on that? So forget about cross within our own jurisdiction, we need to make sure it can be reliable. So there are other possibilities. Probably I was just thinking a marriage of technologies. While AI hallucinates, probably a distributed ledger or a blockchain kind of gives you immutability. Probably a marriage of those two will help us, not sure. But that's something worth trying for us in the long run, because that's when we get the best of all worlds to really be top on the data.
Thanks. So Sahil, last question for you actually. So again, suppose we build this nice
Infrastructure to train these models, right? So last thing which remains still unanswered is the deployment aspect, right? So do you think we have reached a state where the cloud-based deployment can move to the HPC deployment, or like there is still a lot like a long way to reach that kind of a thing, right? So the thing is more scalability. So how can scale these deployments?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. So I would just like to build on what you said, right? You talked about refinery, you talked about, the fuel and everything, right? Now let's talk about the petrol pumps and the filling stations, right? That's where you need to deploy the whole infrastructure to get that served to the, end consumer. And that's where the data will be consumed or the tech will be consumed in the consumer's hand. That is for the consumer, but B2B also comes into picture, right? So today, if you see, as I mentioned earlier as well, the compute is moving in people's hand as well. Today, you can run a 7P, 10P model on device. Along with that, ASR, TDS model running on device, because that's where immediacy is required, right? And then I think we talked about how India has basically adopted the tech, right? Not just tech in terms of the services, but say tech in terms of 4G, 5G. When 4G was in people's hand, everybody started having these smartphones, right? Similar fashion, if you see what will happen now that if AI has to serve, has to be democratized, it has to go in people's hand. Now you cannot run a bigger model for sure, but as Honorable Minister also said in his remark at Davos that from 40 to 50 billion parameter is the sweet spot for a country like India where most of the work is done, right? You don't have to be like thinking about a 500 million parameter model. Now, the data consumption I was mentioning, right? So if you can run, say, small ASR TTS model on device, those are the speech models, right? You don't send everything to the cloud. You just send the text to the cloud. It brings down the overall compute or the data connectivity requirements down, and also it basically takes your latency down. So I believe with new tech coming into devices, with GPU, NPU sitting in the devices, and it is going from different sort of devices. When I say from mobile to cars to even a sound box, right? That's where real deployment happens. And I think if you see, it is all about hybrid architecture, which will in future be deployed. And with open cloud and agents coming into picture, now you have all your apps sitting on the phone, right? You can take a lot of decisions and then send the output to the cloud. So that deployment, if you can run it on device, and then the final, you can say confirmation or final, uh, engagement can happen to the cloud. That's the real, India scale deployment, scenario would be in my opinion.
Another important point that is essentially talking about is local
Absorption of various AI models, right, and various AI use cases. Let me also bring another angle of data sovereignty as well as data security into the whole picture. So, as an example, there is something called the Cloud Act, which is there in the US, which essentially allows the government of the US to tap into any data center that they deem important for national purposes and extract any data that they want. Imagine today that we are talking about sensitive data which pertains to India's interests, India's positions.
Sitting in a data center in the US. Now, that can be accessed by the US government.
At any point of time, as an example. When we talk about defense applications in this case, a very important part that complements what Sahil is saying is about on-premise AI compute and AI infrastructure. Because when it is on-premise on our own soil, we have better control over who accesses the data, under what conditions it is accessed, and that is a very important part of how the growth we also expect to happen, because in such a case then you have a lot of exciting use cases, but also
So you have the control that, tomorrow if we are building for the global south, if we are building for the world,
then it is truly ours. It is not something that we are relying on someone else for.
Okay, so I think I have been signaled to stop, to stop because we are limited time. So maybe just a quick or quick question, and maybe all panelists can answer that question. So, what would be one bold decision which government of India should make, and so that India becomes the leader, not in terms of AI production?
I think India should declare digital infrastructure as the most essential commodity. Just like India has been building the physical infrastructure in terms of highways and railways and airports and everything, and we know that is directly proportional to economic growth. Digital highways, which are in terms of data centers, networks, compute capacities, has to be treated as an essential commodity, most essential item for the country. Uh, India AI Mission has been a fantastic initiative. Uh, 2 years back, there were no GPUs in India, and today everything which we see in India, the model being built and now being getting into production, even we will see some model getting to G2C use cases immediately after this event, is all thanks to because government took an intervention and funded this GPU, capacity which was made available to startups and researchers. So I would say government should keep on doing this geomet's job, allocate more funds to this. Till the time these use cases have their own revenue generating mechanism, they become self-sufficient. At that time, the government can take its rightful role of a good regulator, which is doing well now. But till that time, government should take these models not only during the training phase, but also during the initial phases of inferencing as well. So, compute infrastructure for AI, most essential commodity. That is the decision India should take. Thank you.
Keep it short. It should be Atmanirbhar inference or intelligence, which should be there going forward. So if we can control all 5 layers in India, from the use case to the power in between, the infra also comes in. If we can do that, I think that's where you'll see the real Indian AI going forward.
Well, being a regulator, I will look at things from the lens of risk management. So, for me,
What we need to do is not take the models which we see where either it is free for all or innovation, or on the other side where there is acts for AI and very strong regulation. We need to ensure there's a lot of regulatory sandboxes among the regulators so that there are guardrails, but before the regulations itself come, the startups and the innovators should have access to the rich volume of data with all the financial sector regulators and other sector regulators to build things in a regulatory sandbox, a controlled environment, so that at the end of the day you don't stifle innovation, but you try to kind of encourage it within the guardrails. So that is what I think we should do right. And as lending a term from what he just used, we are all proud about our India stack and the digital public infrastructure. I think the DPI should actually transcend to digital public intelligence going forward.
Uh, in the world of AI, I think many of you may have heard of MCPs, the Model Context Protocols, which
Are currently, doing the rounds for more easy understanding of LLMs. I think what India will probably need to develop is its own ICP, India Context Protocol. That will really help when it comes to
creating a India-specific answer in the world.
world of AI. And maybe there are certain aspects about Indian language, Indian culture, Indian science, etc., which will definitely be factored as part of that. And hopefully that will help us advance our country in the days to come.
Okay, I think we have to end the panel here.
I also see some hands which have been raised. So
What I would request is our panel members will be here after this event, so maybe we can have more one-to-one conversations after this panel.
so I'll now hand over this stage to our socket team, and you can take it forward. Thank you very much.
This mic not working.
Hello, sir. I'm Dr. Jagdish Shivhare, professor and ex distinguished scientist ISRO. Sir, my general question, how is the AI impact in India different than global in terms of strategic objectives and innovation challenges?
Sir, if we see 2 years back when this whole narrative got built in India that while India is a software and services leader for last 3 decades, and ultimately math and science, and India has been championing that. Startup ecosystem, data sets, everything is there in India. What's not there is the compute. And that is how this whole India AI mission came into picture. Government had got many objectives at that time, many models at that time. Should we take a US model which is completely private sector led? Deep tech companies investing billions and building a private sector capitalist driven AI economy. There was a model which was completely government driven, and there was a model which was hybrid of that. India, rightfully so, decided to make a hybrid model where government is acting as a regulator, as an encourager, as a funder also for some time, but allowing private sector to do the innovation, right? So it's also a balance between innovation and regulation also. That's what the path government is taking. And as you can see, multiple times from Prime Minister and Minister and India Mission objective also, all the models which are being built, funded by India Mission will actually be open sourced, and all those models are actually government to citizen use cases. So what, as the name of this event also suggests, it is talking about impact. Instead of AI filling the pockets of deep tech companies, India is talking about AI actually serving the needs of billions of people across different verticals. And that is how India is different, and that's how India can take its use cases to the whole of the world.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sirs, for such an engaging discussion. We wish we had more time with you. You were very energetic, but we are short on time, as always. I now call upon Abhishek Agrawal, the founder and CEO of Socket AI, to felicitate our panelists as well as the moderator. Abhishek, could you get on the side so that this, Please hold on, the audience. We have a socket showcase. You want to get inside the Frontier Lab. Thank you, everyone. We truly appreciate your time and effort to be with us today. I now call upon Abhishek to take you inside the Frontier Lab, what we're actually here for today.
Just 5 minutes of this 5 minutes. Uh, Hi, good morning, guys. So, Abhishek this side, and
I'm just gonna very quickly discuss about the work that we are doing at Socket, but I only have like 4 minutes to be precise. And I'll just walk you through the video and maybe talk about the INCA initiative. And but we are in booth hall 5, booth number 5.20, and you guys should definitely visit us to go in deeper discussions on how foundation models are built and what effort we are doing around the INCA initiative. So, Ritesh, can you quickly play the video? Yes. So Project A is a frontier AI initiative which is supported by the India AI Mission. Under the initiative, we are building a foundation model which is a 120 billion parameter large language model. It's a text-only model as of now. We'll add more modalities to it. The current state of the model is that it's in phase 1 where we are creating a math and a code model and to know the strength of the IT sector in India. I don't want to like lose out the opportunity where these code models come in and disrupt the IT sector itself. So we have taken an initiative in phase 1 to build out this model. The current state is that the 24 billion parameter model, which is fast mixture of expert, is being trained as a fantastic cloud of Yoda. Yoda has been really helpful to us, like in terms of scaling, and we have scaled to almost like 1,000 GPUs. So when I was at IISc, we used to like train these models on 4090s and all, and this is literally like a dream come true to scale these efforts and literally do a supercomputing kind of scale. More interactions. So math and code model as of now is a Python coding model which can do visualizations, which can summarize code. It's only trained on 2 trillion tokens, and as Sunil sir was also saying that it's in the process of getting trained. So if you want to literally see how foundation model is built and is trained, what kind of graphs, what kind of losses, what kind of difficulties we face even on code, infrastructure, and other things, you definitely visit us, and we'll be more than happy to talk about it. We have been very open in terms of sharing our knowledge, sharing our data sets, sharing what happy to host you and love to discuss what we are doing. Thank you so much.
yes, thank you so much. And this ends our discussion and the panel. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting. Thank you. Hi, how are you? Beautiful beloved. I'm so much like